This is genuinely insane, as an MLB insider has just dropped a huge trade report that is not only very interesting, but has huge implications for the Toronto Blue Jays. And break down that report, but also discuss some wild new Jays trade rumors that have surfaced that have fans split. We're going to break that down, as well as a ton of other updates, folks, on this episode, as we are now just one day away from winter meetings beginning tomorrow. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. You guys have been absolute beasts with the support, and thank you guys. It truly means the world to me. Folks, ton to go over. And obviously, we know tomorrow is the beginning of winter meetings. Things are really going to pick up, especially on the reliever front, following the Jays getting rid of Yariel Rodriguez. But folks, a new report has dropped surrounding Ketel Marte that is very interesting. Now let's start with this. Then we're going to dive into some of the new articles and rumors that have started to float around that have fans has fans very intrigued. You can see this here. Could we see Ketel Marte on the move this offseason? They asked Buster, only a fairly reliable reporter. He said that the D-backs told interested teams in July that they wouldn't trade Marte, but their posture now is very different. They have to improve their rotation, and the quickest way to do that would be to swap Marte. And this is where things become very interesting because, of course, we know the Jays have at least had some sort of dialogue with the Diamondbacks over the past couple of years about Ketel Marte. His name has always floated to the surface for the Toronto Blue Jays, and it's because he is such a good player on such a good contract. And for the Jays, you could slide him into a bunch of different spots if you miss out on Bichette. And that's, of course, the caveat here. But that has begun a flurry of trade rumors to surface and really start to kind of circulate surrounding the Jays and specifically Ketel Marte. And there's a new article that dropped from TJ Stats, a guy who's around Jays Twitter and just in general. And there's a reason I'm bringing this one up because this is pretty accurate as to what it would take. So you can see this here. What if the Jays pushed all their chips into the middle and made a splash for Ketel Marte? Here's my mock trade that would see the star second baseman make his way to Toronto. And it is Ketel Marte and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for Addison Barger, José Berríos, Arjun Amala, and Johnny King. Now, you might be looking at that and thinking, wow, that is a big trade. But this is the article on the recent article that is posted revealing what a trade could look like. Now, this one is a doozy. And it has fans. I mean, it blew up on Twitter within Jays Land, and people really started to talk about it. And I personally think that I would do this immediately. But there's a lot of fans out there who obviously view Addison Barger as untouchable. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Now, you're giving up Barger, probably one of your more valuable pieces at this point outside of the main guys. You're giving up José Berríos, so the Diamondbacks get a bit of help there in their starting rotation. You're also giving up your number 2 or 3 prospect, depending where you look, in Arjun Amala, and your number 5, I think, top 10 prospect in Johnny King. So 2 top prospects and Addison Barger for Ketel Marte. Now, you can feel free to pause and read his description and explain why. But it is clear that if Marte does get moved, which according to reports he will probably be moved, they're going to want MLB talent to compete. They're going to want high-end guys, and they're also going to want some starting pitching. And the Jays check every box here. And the reason I bring this up is because any deal for Ketel Marte or any player similar to his level, this is the type of package it will require. And it's fun to go out and speculate, the Jays trading José Berríos and maybe even just Arjun Amala for Ketel Marte. It's going to cost more than that. You have dozens, probably like 2 dozen teams who would love to trade and have the potential at least to trade for Ketel Marte. The Jays want to be competitive, and this could be, this go for any trade. You have to give up, obviously, assets. Now, Ketel Marte, he's 32 years old. He's an absolute stud, one of the best hitters in baseball. But I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, why would you give up an Addison Barger who, albeit isn't a prospect anymore and is a little bit, not older by any means. He's much younger, Ketel Marte, but he's not a young player, right? In the sense of 22, 23. He's obviously in his mid-20s. Why would you give him up after his breakout year that got to the World Series when, his value now is, it's pretty high, obviously. You could argue it's at its peak, depending on how he does, even though the advanced analytics kind of show and point to Barger improving. Let me know down below what your thoughts are, because I would do the deal simply because this is a win-now move. And I'm also under the assumption that if they do a deal like this, it's because Bo left, and they're probably going to try to replace him with Kyle Tucker. Now, if they do this deal and you can't get to Kyle Tucker, it might be a bit of a more difficult question then, because obviously you still have an outfield spot open. You can't platoon Barger playing third, outfield, depending if there's a lefty or righty on the mound. It's interesting. Now, the article goes on to basically say that Addison Barger is the centerpiece of his return. He obviously had his breakout year. The advanced analytics are in favor of him having an even better year. However, he struggles heavily against lefties. So that would kind of be the thing that might deter that value a little bit. But man, oh man, is it an interesting one. And there's also, he has a whole write-up. Feel free to check out the article, but he has a whole write-up about Johnny King. one of the top prospects in the Jays system. And of course, Arjun Amala, the number 2 prospect in the Jays system. So you're paying big here. But to get a guy who's on as good of a contract as Ketel Marte is, you have to give up a ton. Now, where would he fit into the lineup? I mean, you'd probably put him at second base, right? So then you have a guy, you probably then it's Clement at third, Jimenez at short, and then Ketel Marte at second. And if you could find a way to get Kyle Tucker, that is instantly a dangerous lineup. And I think the caveat for me is if you're getting Kyle Tucker back, I would do this deal because it makes your team so much better offensively. You could argue Ketel Marte is a better batter than Bichette is, and I think he is, and a better defender. In my eyes, he's a better overall player, at least right now, Ketel Marte, that is, than Bichette. Bit more power as well, coming off of a 28 home run season where he put up 36 before. But like, this is the type of move that, to be honest, the Jays are probably interested in doing if they're trying to win now. But you're also getting a guy in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. who can hit lefties pretty well. He can be that extra bat. Now, of course, this trade probably assumes it's not, they're not getting Kyle Tucker. And then do you play Lourdes every day and left? You probably stick with that platoon between him and Nathan Lucas then, and maybe you move off of Davis Schneider. You play Lucas against righties, Lourdes against lefties, maximize their roles. There's a lot of different pieces here. The bigger part for me is, can you get Tucker? Now, there is the side of, and I'm very curious, and that's why I'm making this video ahead of winter meetings. Would you guys do this deal? Because I'm sure the comments, some people will probably call me dumb for even proposing this, saying, Nick, you're an idiot for even thinking that this is an option with Addison Berger. This is what it would take to get a player of Ketel Marte's caliber. No matter what other, this is the type of value because there's so many teams that are going for him. And you can see here, do people actually think the Jays will move Addison Berger? I'm seeing all sorts of packages involving him, and I'm just shocked. There's a crowd of Jays fans that think that's a good move. And I mean, I'm one of them just because of how good Ketel Marte is, though I fully understand why you might not like that. It's going to be wild. You can see some people on the flip side. I mean, this tweet got 32,000 views. The other one got about 100,000 views, something like that, or 25,000 views. I would do this 10 times out of 10, but only if we get Tucker. That's a caveat that is quite interesting as well, and one that I tend to agree with, right? Because you'd really be pushing your chips in the middle, but you're also just upgraded in 2 ways. You replace, in theory, Nathan Lucas with Kyle Tucker, huge upgrade. You're replacing Bichette with Ketel Marte, marginal upgrade if you want to say that, or even if you want to say, they even out because of the potential of Ketel Marte maybe falling off a little bit with age. You're still a way better team, right? And are you giving up a ton? Yes. But how much will Berger will he be playing every day next year? That would be the goal. But do the Jays internally think that Addison Berger can play every day against lefties? That's the biggest question. I think he can. But again, you have to weigh all these things. So let me know down below what your thoughts are. It's a fun talking point, and especially with this new report that has dropped, it seems to be quite the hot topic of conversation. It's something to keep an eye out for, especially because if you watch my video with Keegan Matheson, he came on the show and basically said that the Jays always do the unexpected. And that's not to say that the Ketel Marte trade would be fully unexpected, but a trade of this caliber would be. And the Jays tend to, even prefer trades that upgrade their lineup depending on what happens with Bichette. But you're also giving up José Berríos here, who they can easily do that. They have now Cody Ponce. You have Dylan Cease, Kevin Gausman, Trey Savage, all the Shane Bieber, all these guys you can use. You can afford to give up Berríos. And then from the Diamondback side, you get 2, at least 1 top 100 prospect in baseball, really 2 in some, lists. So Johnny King there, 2 top 100 prospects, Addison Berger, who is really good, the centerpiece of this deal, and a year of José Berríos, who can help stabilize the rotation. So it's going to be interesting. And just to keep an eye out here, I've said interesting a lot in this video. It's going to be very intriguing. We'll throw that out there. You can see here, Marte ranks top 10 among batters in each of the following metrics over his last 2 seasons: WRC+, home runs, and F4. He's an absolute stud, but it will cost a lot for the Toronto Blue Jays. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on this, because we know that people have told AJ Pierzynski, a former MLB player, catcher rather, people have told me that the clubhouse is the best to be a part of. And to be quite honest with you, I believe it. But at the same time, we're going to have to see that translate in free agency. It already has with Dylan Cease, Cody Ponce. But shout out to AJ Pierzynski for this quote. It's super encouraging. Thank you guys for watching, folks. Leave a comment down below. I'm going to look through and heart the ones I see. You guys are the best. Cheers.